This brief video is going to take you on a tour of the LC Ready platform by Limmer Education and show some of the features that we have available for educators. My name is Dan Limmer, one of the co-founders of Limmer Education, and I'm going to start by showing you a little bit of a view to see what your students will see. Then I'm going to show you how you can observe your students' performance, their grades, the time that they've spent, and use that to help direct your class. Limmer Education started with a vision to put out high quality apps for students, and we've done that. We've been doing that for more than 10 years. But we quickly found out from educators that you wanted to be involved. You wanted to see what your students were doing. You wanted to get the benefit of this as well. And we listened. So this is the Limmer Education instructor dashboard that you see here. This is a demo that we have set up, an account that we can show you. So I'm going to show you first one of our most popular apps. I'm going to go into my apps, and I'm just going to stroll down quickly to EMT Review Plus. Now I do this as the demo because EMT is the biggest number of students tested in the National Registry, the most classes. But please be aware that we have apps for AEMTs and for paramedics as well. We take them all equally serious and are very proud of what we do. Any app that's a review app has study on the orange you see on your screen here. Those are flashcards, and we have about 700 or so flashcards. We have review questions. These are your basic didactic, get ready for your classroom exam review questions, and we have simulated National Registry exams. We have 5 of those with 100 questions each in our EMT product. So this is not just an exam review product. From day one of class, your students can come in and they can observe and study, get good quality information. So if I opened up our study card menu, our students like a little bit of a challenge, so we can challenge me with questions from anywhere in the deck of flashcards. Again, it's sizable. And you can also find flashcards on the 7 traditional topics in the EMT tradition standards: preparatory airway assessment, medical trauma, special populations, and operations. We've got you covered here. This will go towards any book. Many of you know me and know that I write an EMT book, a yellow EMT book called Emergency Care, but this can be used with any book. We've made this so it's not just for one, it's for any book, it's for solid study, and ultimately National Registry success. Where we outpace others, where we rise above others, is we don't just do these. We know what students need, so we've added sections on pathophysiology. It's foundational and sometimes challenging to teach, so let's give them some other resources. Critical thinking, right? Flashcards and review questions. Medical terminology, and very few people come out of the National Registry and say, oh, I knew every word. Not just my students today were talking about the need for that. Then finally, mental conditioning. Mental conditioning is designed to take part of the stem of a question and put it in a flashcard. Because if a student can recognize what some of the parts mean, they'll better be able to identify, interpret, and value that information in a question to get to a better answer. So I'm just going to show you one of these quickly. We'll see what comes up. All right, baby has diarrhea. Right, boom. That's what's on there. Right, might be a little bit more on the screen, but the baby has diarrhea. Mom's concerned. What does that mean? Well, we talk about the pediatric assessment triangle. We talk about what we do with that. And when we talk about dehydration, we're thinking about that diarrhea. We're thinking about dehydration, right? Has the baby been feeding? How frequent's the diarrhea? Has the baby been wetting diapers? Right? So, and then capillary refill time, is the fontanelle present and sunken? So we not only give the insight about what this is, but other things to look for. And you're probably thinking, like I am right now, is that this is the same thing that happens on the street, right? Let's do one more. An alert patient. If you see the word alert, it's not always given to you quite as easily, but you know what? An alert patient, right? They know who and where they are and what's going on. They're probably not in respiratory failure, and they're probably not in significant shock. That's a pretty strong positive thing. Just that concept, if you say you have an alert patient, you are ruling out, at least at this immediate moment, that they are not deep in shock, right? They're probably not hypoglycemic. They're probably not in respiratory failure. So it's a general indicator of stability. But you see in the last paragraph, it doesn't guarantee stability. Right? We try and put in the insights you want your students to know to be able to apply this to practice and the test. So let's go back. And we have, like I said, about 700 study cards. Go to the review questions. We have not only the 7 traditional topics, but we also have the 4 things. And these are just review questions, right? So we'll just pick trauma because going into trauma emergencies. Patient was struck repeatedly in the abdomen. He's guarding his abdomen, appears to be in pain. Which of the following indicates the patient is showing signs of shock from internal bleeding, right? Well, you have some things that are probably choosable. Irregular respiration sounds really serious. Slow bounding pulse, not so much. Flushed warm skin, I'm going with altered mental status. So we say, okay, it's the correct answer. Yay, good feedback, green check, and rationale. Explains not only why the correct answer is correct, but why the incorrect answers are not as well. Now, I'll just show you the last section. We have our test section. These are 5, in the EMT product, there are 5 100 question National Registry style exams. Now, students often don't sit down and do 100 at a time. You'll see exam number 2 has been started. I can click on that. Would you like to continue where you left off? We try very hard to give users a good experience. Not just good questions, but a good experience. You don't want to start again. Now, my questions do 5, 10, maybe 20 at a time. They go off, do something else, they come back and pick it up again. And we try and make it easy. So I can continue, and you'll see that I am on question number 19. Now, it didn't take me 5 hours. I do these demos from time to time, right? So now I've got a question, scenario question. 26-year-old male unconscious after a motor vehicle crash. Airway is patent, but he's breathing rapidly. His respiratory rate is 58. Holy cow, and he's slightly cyanotic. In this case, the most important reason to initiate positive pressure ventilation is 2. Whoa. All right, this is a real challenging one here. Are we trying to treat rising intracranial pressure? Well, we really don't do that anymore. Not necessarily apnea, because he is breathing it at 58 times a minute. But in this case, it says the most important reason to initiate a positive pressure ventilation is. Now, most important. I'm going to say increased tidal volume, because at 58, you're not getting much alveolar ventilation in there. And, well, sometimes I get nervous. I'm doing these demos. If I pick the wrong answer, it'd be very embarrassing. But really what this talks about, very appropriately, is that we have to get the tidal volume up. Rapid shallow breathing is still shallow breathing. You can't fill the lungs really in a second. So we give you good questions, things that make your students feel like they're taking the National Registry of Gate review and rationale answers. Now, I've taken the time to bring you through this app just to show you what we have for your students in our review products. We also have our past products written by former National Registry Executive Director Bill Brown, and now we've brought in Todd Vreeland with some registry experience. Really, all of our apps have been written with people who have at a minimum been to Columbus to do item writing at the National Registry. So now, the reason I showed you the student part, like I said, one is to show you the quality that we put in. But when we have this, it turns out that we give you a lot of ability to see what your students do and use it for good, for the benefit in your class. So if I want to look at my student activities, a sample course I have here using the app I just showed you, when I look at the details, there's a couple different ways I can do this. Now, a lot of times I just scan through. I can see how much they're studying. Here's how many study cards they've done. Okay, they've done some review questions, 86. We try and make it visually appealing. We can show what's going on right here. Oh yeah, they've mastered some of these cards. They feel like they're getting it. Test grades 82. Oop, 66. Got to talk to Jones. If I want to talk to Jones, I can click on this email, kick up my email program, and you can email him right from here. Going through, I can scan. Yep. That's good. But what if I want to know more information on someone? What if I want to go through and see how these people are actually doing individually? So these are their practice tests. All right, they've taken a certain number of exams here. Okay, and I can see that they have exam 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we can see that we have some improvement there. But gee, maybe the student wants to know what they should study. Maybe you want to know what the student should study. So we break it down into the six components of the National Registry, the 5 sections: airway, medical, trauma, cardiology, and operations. And we also had pediatrics. So if I'm thinking they've been having some trouble with airway, I can turn everything off here and say, whoa, look at, they seem to improve. But I wonder how they're doing now in cardiology. I'm just going to take a look at cardiology. Well, maybe I got to do a little bit of work on that. So I can go through and look at how they've done in their diagnostic scoring on all of the exams. So I can look at scores on individual exams that they've taken. I can do the same thing for review and then see how many study cards they've done. So we can give you a lot of information on each user, right? It's all there to look at. Study cards here. All right, this person might be a little overconfident and completed 487 cards. Great. Mastered 487 cards. All right, I'm not sure about that. But I can go through and I can look at how many cards they've done and how much time they've spent. I mean, literally how much time. I can look through and say, gee, Mr. Limmer, I've studied really, really hard. Oh, did you use the app? Yeah, well, let's take a look. And that's often where we find out what's going on. So we can tell you a lot about the user's individual study, each individual person. You can click through and look at everything, look at all the topics, all the things that they've done, and we can watch them and say, okay, looks like they've tried a lot on this one, and that's good. And do the same thing if we want to just be able to look at one particular part. Maybe I want to see if they've got a clue about pathophysiology. And looks like they worked up. They got okay. They took the quiz, got 100% on that date. All right, 76. Yep, so they worked at it. Over the month they went through and did that. Good. I can download some of these things. I want to put it into a CSV file and somehow, store these things or add it to records. But what if I wanted to look at my whole class? What if I said, I'm in the operations part now. They're going to be going down to the Pearson View Center before too long, and I wonder how they're doing in general. So I got those 5 tests, those 5 100-question tests. What I do is I assign one to the class, right? I want you to exam number 4. Have it done by this date, and if whatever grade you get, I'll replace your lowest quiz grade with. That's one of the ways I try and get students into the app. I used to drop the lowest quiz grade. Now I replace it with something to make them go through and do it in practice, right? So I'm going to go over to the statistics side. Now we can look at the average number of cards people have done, and we can look at their average grades in the review section here, right? Total of 36 questions. There's 100%. Some people not so well, right? See how many times this has been tried among my class in that 46. But what I really want to do is I want to go down to those practice exams. That's the test section here. So I say I'll just pick exam number 2, whatever I assign to my students. 78 average overall. Okay, almost 80. 79 average, almost 80. It's been tried 17 times. Now, what if I want to know how my class is doing generally, just as a whole? Now, my class averaged 78.8 in airway, 84.7 in cardiology, 76.5 on medical. Here's operations. They did pretty well there. Pediatrics, okay. And trauma, 75. Now I can say, all right, now where should I take my last week or 2 weeks of study and review with my students and focus? So now I can look at the entire class for any one of those sections. You can look at your individual students' performance by grade or by National Registry section diagnostic scoring, or look at your class as a whole. Now I said I frequently have my students do a test, and then I replace their lowest quiz grade with that. But don't forget there's other ways to integrate apps into the classroom. Take a couple questions from the trauma section and review and put them into your quiz. So later you say, if you got number 3, 14, and 18 wrong on this little quiz we did, If you use the app, you would have got those right because I took them directly from the app. You know what they're going to do next time? They're going to look at the app. My students this morning, before a trauma exam in their AEMT class, one of the students projected theirs on the board and went through it. So, I mean, all my class has it, and they went through and used that as a review. Self-directed, easy, and I think it really works. So we give you a lot of potential information as an educator and an ability to use things for your benefit. The last thing I'll say is that sometimes the best way to get students into the app is to model it. So if you finish your class and you've got 20 minutes, you're early, you finish your labs or your dynamic presentations or your lecture, whatever you're up to these days, and you have 20 minutes left. And I don't like to let students out early all the time because they expect it all the time. Call up your copy of the app onto the computer and the projector and go through some questions with them. Modeling a behavior that shows you value using this app will also help your students get into that app. So, this dashboard from Limmer Education is how you access all the information you have available to you as an educator. And we make it easy. We have your courses, all right? So if you want to create a course, you can create the course or you can have us do it. We make it really easy to use our apps. If you were to say, we have 20 EMT students, you dropped us a note, or you call us, we can send you a series of 20 PDFs, individual PDFs in a single file, print those out, hand them to your students, or email them to your students if you're hybrid, right? I think things like our audios are just an excellent supplement to a hybrid class. Our EMT and our AEMT audios have been the savior of a lot of people in some of the crazy hybrid times around COVID. So we can create a class for you, and this is where you can go in and get information. We call them a course. You can buy licenses here and add them to a course, but let us do it for you. Make it easy. All right. Study groups. Students can actually create a study group, and you can create a study group. So when you go into any app, you will see this study wall alongside whatever you're doing. And we, of course, have stats, the leaderboard kind of thing. Everyone loves to be the leader. Here's the group stats, how much time they've been studying. But here's the leaderboard, most study time, right? A lot of Limmer on there. It's just, I guess it's our demo account. So we make this so it's functional in a number of ways for you and your students. Right? Now, the app that I've talked about mostly, this EMT Review Plus app, our Paramedic Review Plus, our AEMT Review are $11.99. Now, I would never say budgets are anything that you can mess around with, but we discount those 25%, much like textbook publishers discount the books for bulk purchases. That makes it about $9. You have a 20-person class, it's $180 to give this app to your students. And we make it really easy. Let's say that you have a program director and then you have people that teach different sections of a class throughout a school. We can set this up so if the program director wants to see everybody's activity, they can, but the instructors only see their own classes. So this process is very easy for you to do. And once you get in there, your students, when they use that piece of paper, that PDF that you give them or email them, and they sign up, they automatically appear in your course on your instructor dashboard. You don't have to do anything. And if the budget's tough and you want to have the students buy them, you want to require them, put them in your syllabus, make them required things, refer to them, use them, give assignments, and we'll send you a discount code that your students can use and a course code so we can still put them in your class. Now, this would be the time I think that if we had people here, I'd be saying, do you have any questions? And I think in doing this, I'll just show you quickly, we have achievements and badges. You get an 85 in particular topics. You can go through and you get awards for those. You get badges. If you're the night owl, if you're the early bird, numerous times that you go through. We do try and use some of the psychology common in games to do this. You get all the apps that you use in your class. We give you those free. Everything here is free to you. All right. It's very important for me to say that again. It's free. As an educator, all this comes with the apps that you adopt for your students. The last thing I'll say is that Limmer Education apps don't expire. Another common question we have, we have our procrastinators. They don't take the National Registry. And by that time, the LMS has expired, their study apps have expired, not ours. We've been doing this for over 10 years. We've updated our apps several times now to AHA guidelines. They're currently up to date with them now. We have begun filtering in the new TEI questions the National Registry is doing. So we have multiple response items in here. So this is up to date always. This is easy for your student to use, and we have a lot of apps that we can do. I've shown you the review apps, but we have 12 lead and 3 lead ECG, ACLS and PALS review, an EMS history app. We give the proceeds to the EMS museum. Our AEMT apps, we dabbled a little bit in nursing, and our audio lecture series, EMT pathophysiology, which quite frankly can be AEMT too, and we have AEMT audios. So these audios have been very popular when people have to suddenly go online to have their students get insightful things. 33 audio lectures in our EMT review audio lecture series, over 4 hours of pathophysiology. That's a lot for anybody. And we have 8 targeted AEMT lectures over and above the EMT Review audio lecture series. Our EMT is our PALS review, paramedic airway review. We have some specific paramedic apps that are topical. And last but not least, we have our PASS apps. Paramedic Pass, AEMT Pass, and EMT Pass, written by Bill Brown. I've mentioned these briefly. These questions are awesome, and they're spectacular preparation. While EMT review and AEMT and paramedic review are great through the whole class, this is really designed as exam prep, serious exam prep, not the ones that make your students falsely feel good. These are the ones that challenge your students. All right, I said that I was done with this little review of our instructor side of lcready.com. Your students are able to see all of the things about themselves that you can see about them to help them learn and focus their practice. We've built this for you, and we've built this for your students. Quality, intuitive nature, decent prices that don't expire, and customer service that's going to keep you coming back. Don't struggle when you're implementing new things. We have people that are here to help you, and they're very good at that. So I'm Dan Limmer from Limmer Education. This was just a quick review of our instructor dashboard. Please, you can email support@limmereducation.com anytime and get additional information on our apps or how to use these things. We'd love to get you in to get your own account and take a look around. Thanks so much for taking this time and listening to my spiel on this. I think that you can probably hear that I'm very proud of what we built. It's done well for my students. It was envisioned as an educator, but with good, solid technology. And it's the whole package for you and your students. Thanks for coming by.